Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. I'm back with more NCAA news. Topic I really haven't covered much lately because it's been kind of off season for NCAA major sports. So there's no college basketball, there's no college football right now. So pretty much in the doldrums or the off season for all the major NCAA sports. But major news just came out on June 6th. According to ESPN, a multi-billion dollar settlement, I believe it was $2.8 billion, was reached and approved. This lawsuit or settlement allowed D1 athletes to get paid directly from the schools that they attend or the colleges and universities, so to speak, which is great news for the athletes, but is it great news for the fans or the viewing fans? Because we have already seen the effects that the NIL has on the league or on the NCAA already, with the discrepancies with athletes saying they're not getting the money that were promised, or athletes expecting to get more, and they ended up having to leave schools. And I covered this on one of my first podcasts about the athlete from Nevada who set out the season because he didn't get the $100,000 or whatever money he was supposed to get from that team. Other athletes have transferred schools to get better money. Some athletes have left just due to not getting the money they thought they were deserved. So it's starting to become a problem already, and people are saying that they need contracts to get some kind of consistency or some kind of standard set, similar to what the NFL does, saying, a quarterback can get this amount and a running back can get this amount and so forth, which is, good thing and a bad thing, of course, because you're setting a ceiling on how much they can make. But at the same time, it'll be a agreed contract where there's no discrepancies like that. But it's going to create that same issue in the NFL of people players going bouncing around places, which is already evident from the NIL deals, right? So it won't be much change there. Now, as well, it's too early to tell if the project has changed from the NIL, but it just seems different right now just because of at least the media coverage of it, of the sport, because we've seen coaches like Nick Saban come out and say, Ohio State's making $20 million, they better win, which they did win, but he said this prior to. So there's a lot of dilemma there, and I think Nick Saban left Alabama because of the money, because players were starting to get paid, and he said they weren't loving the sport anymore. They were just trying to figure out how much they're going to get. And you see Deion Sanders address this issue, as well as the coach from Clemson, um, Dabo Sweeney, covered this as well. So a lot of coaches are starting to get disgruntled from players getting money and making it all about the money as if it was the NFL or some professional league, which, this problem is going to come along. But I'm biased about players being paid because I want to see players get paid, because long as they get paid, that EA Sports college football game will still be continuing to be released. And I'm a huge fan of that game, and I don't want to see it go away anymore because we were 10 years plus without it, and there is a big hype around the game, and it's a big spectacle now. So it's pretty much the reason why I still play video games in the first place, is because of that. So of course I'm biased on players getting paid just for that simple reason. Um, but players getting paid directly from the school, does this affect the ticket price of the game? Does it affect the TV contracts now? Because we know once something goes in effect, there's always pros and cons, and we don't know those for sure right now, and we'll see the effects going down the road. But it'll be interesting to see. And then also, I was thinking about the contracts, well, not the contracts, but the scholarships from athletes. Will that be factored now into the price that they pay the athletes now, especially the top tier athletes? Will scholarships become null and void or obsolete now, because they say, well, we'll pay you a certain salary, use that money to pay your scholarship? So it'll be interesting to see what kind of legislature or policies that's already in place that will prohibit it or amend those scholarships in some kind of degree, and it'll affect the nature of these athletes. But all of these things we'll have to see going forward. But my biggest concern, is the performance of the athletes, because will this move of that schools paying them directly, will that spoil their appetite? Because we know that with a lot of people, once they get the money, the performance goes down. Like if you ever watched the NBA player, NFL players for sure, that contract year. Now, if you ever Now, this is a tip of advice I'm gonna give it to everybody for free. Now, if you're playing fantasy football, get those players that are in a contract year because they're gonna have that stellar year. They're gonna give you astronomical stats. Whether usually they're getting 5 sacks a year, they're gonna get 10 or 15 that next year, trying to get that bigger contract just to show the team what they're capable of. And that's because they don't have the money yet. But once they get the money, I never get players after the contract year unless they're like Mahomes or um, Derrick Henry or somebody like that. Somebody that's going to be still hungry. Tom Brady back in the day, because greatness is about those players who get the money and still perform the same. They're consistent, but you have those players to where the contract year is up and they haven't been playing up to par, but then they say, "Oh, I got to ramp it up this year. I'm going to train more. I'm going to eat better. I'm going to do different things." And that's what I'm afraid of about these college athletes, because once they get the money, will they perform the same? Because we know once they get the money, the distractions are going to be there. We know that there are going to be more, lawsuits. There's going to be more scrutiny, more scandal. Will they be able to still ascend despite having those situations come up? Or will they even be prohibited from playing because of different scandals that go along? Will they start opening businesses and have to deal with those different things and spread themselves too thin, pause, from everything else? So that's going to be a big issue that nobody's really thinking about, because I think them getting the money is well deserved, as it's $1 billion business that is totally profit. Even though it says a non-profit organization, it's definitely for profit. And players have been getting stiffed out of the money for a long time. And it's nice to see, but we have to think about the backside or the downside of everything as well. And I don't think this move will keep athletes in college longer. Those basketball players are still going to be gone after the first year, because the NBA money still is better than what anything the college is paying, unless they're going to offer them $20 million a year or something like that, which they probably won't. So I think the NBA players will still leave after a year, and I think college players will still leave after 3, because the NFL money still is better, especially if you're in those top 2 or 3 rounds. The money's still going to be better, and the opportunities are better. And you're trying to extend your career, and by playing college, you're shortening your NFL career. So you want to get to the NFL as soon as possible and start that route. So I don't think it'll change anything as far as staying in the game longer. Now, for women's basketball, it's different. They'll stay 4 and 5 years because the money is way better than the WNBA, of course. So they're going to stay in that league even longer. So when you think about that, they won't spoil their appetite, so to speak, because those players still get better and they play this consistently the same. But it's the NFL players or the college football players that I'm worried about, their performance, and are they going to still have that same drive and that same aspirations, even though they have the money already. So in some aspects, because you're having millions as a freshman is a whole different ball game to deal with the stress and scrutiny and things like that, and family and stuff like that. But this news is scary for both parties on both sides, whether it be coaches, athletic directors, college deans, and things like that, dealing with these issues. And it's also scary for the student athletes, which most people can't say it's a student athlete no more. It's just an athletic student. But nevertheless, we'll keep this story covered. Thanks for tuning into the Urban Scope podcast. As always, until next time, I'll see you next time.